My twin sister Emily and I have been locked in a rivalry for as long as I can recall. For us, it wasn't just sibling squabbles. My parents unknowingly fueled the competition. I was merely present, while they consistently treated Emily as if she were extraordinary. Let me explain why this happened. Emily arrived precisely 12 minutes before me. You heard that right, 12 minutes. Apparently, that's all it takes to become the family's golden child. Emily was their miracle baby, the one who could do no wrong from the moment we were born. I wasn't a bad kid, but she always got the recognition for anything I achieved. My earliest memory of this favoritism goes back to kindergarten. We were both in the school play. I landed the lead role in Little Red Riding Hood, and Emily had 2 lines as a flower. During the performance, Emily forgot her lines and burst into tears on stage. My parents, in their rush to comfort her, missed my entire performance. That evening, they didn't even acknowledge my accomplishment. All they could talk about was Emily's bravery for simply trying. This pattern continued throughout elementary school. Emily would get a C on a test and hear, "Oh, honey, you tried your best." Meanwhile, my consecutive A's barely registered. I remember spending weeks in 4th grade on a science fair project about renewable energy. I researched, built models, and even interviewed local environmental specialists. When I proudly handed my parents the blue ribbon for winning first place, they barely glanced at it. Emily had a tough day at volleyball practice, but that's still wonderful. Can we talk about this later? After that, I stopped bothering to share my achievements with them. What was truly infuriating was their complete lack of effort to hide their bias. At family gatherings, my dad would joke about Emily being their firstborn, as if those 12 minutes somehow made her the elder sister. "Emily's our responsible one. She looks after her younger sister," he'd declare, with me standing right there, reduced to Emily's shadow and nothing more. In middle school, this began to take a significant emotional toll. I became fiercely determined to prove myself. I joined every club I could: student council, debate team, math club. I pushed myself to excel, often studying late into the night. Emily, conversely, coasted through, doing minimal work yet somehow attracting more attention and praise. One particular incident stands out. In 8th grade, I was chosen to represent our school at the state mathematics competition. I prepared for months, frequently studying until 2 or 3 a.m. The competition fell on the same day as one of Emily's recreational soccer matches. Not only did my parents fail to show up to support me, they didn't even ask how I did. When I brought home the second-place trophy, all they could talk about was how Emily needed cheering up because her team had lost their game with higher stakes. High school was more of the same. I continued to juggle as many extracurriculars as possible, taking all AP classes, and maintaining a 4.0 GPA. Emily, on the other hand, spent most of her time at parties and barely managed a C average. Yet, she remained the fun, social one, while I was criticized for being too competitive and serious. The disparity became glaring during our senior year. My academic achievements earned me valedictorian, a full scholarship to a top university, and even an article in the local newspaper. Emily barely graduated and enrolled in community college. Despite this, my parents spent our joint graduation celebration lamenting Emily's failure to get into her dream school. In their speech, they didn't utter a single word about my accomplishments. The real turning point arrived in college. I continued to maintain perfect grades, working part-time to support myself while attending a prestigious institution to study computer science. Every break I'd return home, clinging to the hope that something had shifted, that perhaps my parents had finally started to value me. Instead, it was always Emily this and Emily that. Her decision to drop out of community college after just 1 semester was somehow interpreted as her being brave enough to follow her own path. Then, during Thanksgiving break of my junior year, everything changed. My uncle, who had always enjoyed a bit too much to drink, made a mistake. As he reminisced about my mom's pregnancy, he revealed that my parents hadn't even planned on having twins. They were devastated to discover they were expecting 2 children when they'd only wanted one. My dad, being the laid-back type, just shrugged and said, "We'll figure it out." My mom, however, was consumed with worry about how they'd manage 2 babies. Their method of figuring it out, it turned out, was to simply pick a favorite and pour all their energy into her, Emily, their precious firstborn. In their minds, those crucial 12 minutes made all the difference. As my uncle confessed this while we sat at the dinner table, years of wondering why my achievements didn't matter suddenly made perfect sense. I was the afterthought, the unexpected addition, not the child they had wished for. Something inside me snapped after that revelation. I stopped trying to please them. Instead, I poured all my energy into building my own life. I dedicated myself fully to my coursework and internships, driven to succeed for myself, not for them. By the time I graduated, I had multiple job offers from top tech companies. I accepted a position as a software engineer at a promising startup, and 3 years later, I was promoted to senior developer. Emily, meanwhile, was busy planning a lavish wedding after a whirlwind romance with a wealthy man she'd met at a bar. Naturally, my parents were ecstatic. They couldn't even remember the name of the company I worked for, yet they spent hours on the phone with Emily discussing wedding specifics. My company was preparing for an IPO, and my stock options were worth more than Emily's fiancé made in a year. The irony wasn't lost on me. I was truly thriving. But they never once asked about my career. The final straw, the one that truly broke my heart, involved the wedding fund. Our grandmother, the only person who had ever treated us fairly, left each of us a substantial sum of money before she passed, specifically for our future weddings. She had been very clear that we were to split the money evenly. She even told me privately that she was aware of how my parents treated me, and this was her way of ensuring I had something truly mine. Of course, my parents couldn't honor her last wishes. Emily wanted a ridiculously extravagant wedding, complete with a celebrity photographer, a designer gown, and multiple venues. Rather than urge her to scale back or ask her wealthy fiancé to contribute more, they decided to simply take my share of the inheritance. They didn't even tell me. They didn't ask. It wasn't until months after the wedding that my inebriated uncle, yes, the same one, blurted it out at another family gathering. When I confronted them about it, they reacted angrily. "Oh, honey," my mother said dismissively, waving her hand. "We were going to tell you eventually. We'll pay you back when we can." My father's reply was even worse. "Well, Emily needed it more. She's the traditional one, getting married, and you're so wrapped up in your work. It's unlikely you'd even want a lavish wedding." I stood in their kitchen, staring at these people who were supposed to be my parents, feeling nothing, just a profound emptiness, devoid of sadness or anger. They couldn't even grasp the wrongness of their actions. They truly believed that because it was for Emily, taking my inheritance without my consent was perfectly acceptable. Emily had always been their priority. That evening, I returned to my apartment and reflected deeply on my life. I realized that every major milestone, every accomplishment, every proud moment had been overshadowed or completely dismissed because of Emily. My high school graduation? They were too busy comforting Emily about her grades. My college scholarship was barely acknowledged because of Emily's struggles at community college. My first promotion was overlooked because Emily was planning her wedding. I did something I should have done years ago. I opened my laptop and emailed them. "I know about the wedding fund. I know you used my inheritance to pay for Emily's wedding without consulting me. More importantly than the money, it's about how you've treated me my entire life. You never bothered to hide the fact that I was never the daughter you wanted. I'm done trying to earn your love and acceptance. I'm done being the child you didn't want. Please, do not contact me again unless it's to return my money." As I hit send, blocked their numbers, and deleted them from all social media, a tremendous weight lifted from my shoulders. For the first time in my life, I didn't have to worry about trying to meet Emily's standards or gain acceptance I'd never receive. It's been a transformative year. I poured all my energy into my career and personal growth. Our company's IPO was a success, and my stock options are now worth more than Emily's entire wedding expenses. I started therapy to address my childhood trauma, bought my own home in a desirable part of the city, and forged genuine friendships with people who truly value me for who I am. Occasionally, Emily tries to reach out through distant relatives or mutual friends. She'll write things like, "Family should stick together," or "You're still my sister." But where was this sense of family when she watched our parents dismiss my accomplishments for years? Where was that when she joyfully accepted my inheritance for her wedding? She was complicit in everything with our parents. Some relatives have tried to blame me, claiming I'm too harsh, that blood is thicker than water, and so on, but these are the same people who silently observed my parents' favoritism of Emily for years. They stayed quiet then, so they no longer get to voice an opinion now. It's ironic because cutting them off has shown me who my true family is: my therapist, who helps me see that none of this was my fault, my colleagues who celebrate my achievements, and my college best friend who helped me move into my new home. These are the ones who genuinely care about me. I've been offered a team lead position at my firm, which just launched a new office in another state. For the first time in my life, I'm making a decision without considering how it compares to Emily or what my parents will say, and it's an incredible opportunity. Living my life for myself feels amazing. Am I the jerk for cutting them off entirely, Reddit? I often wonder if I'm being overly dramatic, but every time I consider reconnecting, I remember all those years I spent feeling inadequate, and I know I made the right choice. It's about to get even more complicated, though, and I need your honest thoughts on what I should do next. Update 1. 2 weeks ago, everything dramatically shifted. My phone started ringing with multiple calls from my uncle while I was in the middle of a team meeting. My first instinct was to ignore it, because family calls always signal drama, but there was something different about the rapid succession of calls, so I answered. "Hey, it's Uncle Greg," he began, his voice trembling slightly. I immediately knew something was wrong. He's usually the type of guy who stays positive, even through adversity. "I need to talk to you about your parents." My stomach clenched. I hadn't heard from them in 2 years, so I knew this couldn't be good news. "What's happening?" I asked, trying to keep my voice steady. "They were in an accident, a pretty bad one. They're at the hospital." He paused, and I heard him take a deep breath. "Their car was hit by a truck that ran a red light. Your dad's in critical condition, and your mom has multiple fractures. They've been in the hospital for a few days." "Days?" I repeated, my voice rising. "And no one thought to tell me until now?" "They wanted me to let you know," he said in a calmer tone. "I think they want to see you. But I think that's not all. Their insurance was having problems, of course." He went on to explain that 6 months prior, my parents had let their health insurance lapse. They'd been struggling financially due to credit card debt and bad investments. They were far from being discharged, and the medical bills were already piling up. "What about Emily?" I asked, already knowing the answer. Uncle Greg sighed. "She visited once, right after the accident, and said she couldn't help with the bills. She didn't want to ask her husband for money so soon after their honeymoon, apparently. She's busy with her stepchildren, her new family." That made me chuckle. Typical Emily, always an excuse. Emily was too proud to ask her wealthy husband for help with our parents' medical expenses, even though she had no problem taking my inheritance for her wedding. I sat in my office for a while after hanging up with Uncle Greg, staring out the window at the city skyline. I didn't miss the irony. Now that my stock options had vested, I had more than enough money saved to cover their medical costs. I was truly in a position to help them. But did I want to? For the next few days, I couldn't focus on anything else. My phone buzzed, and I jumped every time, anticipating a call about their condition. I couldn't stop picturing them in hospital beds, probably wondering if I'd ever show up. They were my parents, and I felt guilty for even considering not helping. But then, the years of favoritism, the stolen inheritance, and the fact that they only contacted me now because they needed something from me all came flooding back. This was simply about money, not about reconnecting or making amends. 3 days after Uncle Greg called, Emily texted me. "I know you're doing well at work. Parents are in desperate need of help. This is your chance to do the right thing." My chance to do the right thing? Where was her moral compass when she was using my inheritance to pay for her wedding? Where had she been all those years when she watched our parents dismiss my accomplishments? After a week of internal conflict, my parents finally called themselves. My mother's voice was weak, clearly distorted by painkillers, but her manipulative tactics remained unchanged. As if the past 2 years of silence hadn't happened, she began, "Sweetheart, we're in a really tough situation here. The specialist says the costs could reach $200,000, not including rehabilitation. We acknowledge our shortcomings as parents, but—" I cut her off. "No, you don't, and you never will. You haven't contacted me in 2 years, and the only reason you are now is because you need money." "That's not fair," my dad's voice chimed in, probably on speaker. "We're your parents. Family supports family." That statement, "family helps family," set me off. Years of bottled-up anger erupted. "Family helps family," I repeated. Where was that feeling when you used my inheritance to pay for Emily's wedding? Where were you when you missed my college graduation? Where were you when you neglected every significant event in my life because you were too busy showering Emily with adoration? After a brief silence, my mother began to cry. Those familiar, cunning tears I'd heard so many times when she wanted to make me feel bad. "How can you be so cruel? We're in the hospital. Your dad might need surgery. Will you truly abandon us at this point?" I took a deep breath before uttering the words I had wanted to say for years. "Yes. In fact, yes, I am. All my life you emotionally abandoned me. You only ever thought of me as Emily's shadow and your fallback option. Now that Emily is refusing to help, you turn to me. No, I will no longer be your last option." "But we're family," my father said, starting. "No," I cut in. "We're not. We haven't been family since you decided Emily was the only child deserving of your love. I'm done. Never contact me again." After hanging up, I blocked their numbers once more. I then texted Emily one last time. "They're your parents too. You try it." The days that followed were incredibly difficult. I would constantly have moments where I doubted my choice. Was I being too harsh? Despite everything, should I still help them? But every time those thoughts surfaced, I was reminded of how they had treated me throughout my life, and how they had only ever contacted me when they wanted something. Yesterday, Uncle Greg called again. He tried to guilt-trip me, claiming my parents needed physical therapy and surgery as their health was deteriorating. He said they might lose everything, and they were talking about remortgaging their home. The truth is, I bear no responsibility for their financial troubles. They made their choices. They chose to prioritize Emily. They chose to squander the money I left them. They chose to let their insurance expire. They are now dealing with the consequences of their decisions. Some might accuse me of being heartless. Perhaps I am, but I've been striving to be good enough to win their love my entire life. And I'm done. I am no longer the fallback option when Emily refuses to take charge. I'm done being the one who has to make all the repairs. For the first time in my life, I'm choosing myself. Even though I realize this might make me seem callous, my mental well-being is more important to me than their guilt trips. My financial stability is more important to me than their shoddy planning. Reddit. I know I previously asked if I was the jerk for cutting them off, but now I need to know if I'm the jerk for not helping them pay their medical costs. This one even seems unclear to my therapist. While I feel bad about it, I also think this is just another instance of them only wanting me around when they need me. And believe me, the story doesn't end here. The situation is about to get considerably more intricate. Update 2. My life took another dramatic turn 3 days ago. I was enjoying a peaceful evening at home after a very demanding workday, during which we had finalized preparations for the opening of our new office. I was reviewing some project paperwork, sipping a glass of expensive red wine, a small luxury I now allow myself, with classical music playing softly in the background. My doorbell rang at precisely 8:07 p.m. I hadn't ordered anything, and most of my friends usually text before visiting, so I wasn't expecting anyone. I froze, peering through the peephole. Emily stood there, looking every bit the affluent trophy, wife she had become. Designer dress, flawless makeup, and a $15,000 Hermes Birkin bag clutched in her hand. The irony wasn't lost on me. That bag alone could have covered a significant portion of our parents' medical expenses. I briefly considered pretending I wasn't home, but over the past few weeks, I'd transformed. I was no longer the person who cowered around Emily. She had intimidated me for too long, and I had let her win. No more. I opened the door with my cool, controlled, slightly dismissive corporate boardroom demeanor. Leaning against the doorframe, I remarked, "Well, if it isn't my dear sister, what brings you to my humble abode?" Without waiting for an invitation, she swept past me and into my apartment. Typical Emily. Her gaze swept across my living area, taking in the original artwork on the walls, the contemporary furnishings, and the floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the city. I could picture her mentally itemizing everything, likely comparing it to her suburban McMansion. "Nice place," she said, in a tone that implied the exact opposite. "Very cozy." She used the word cozy with that special emphasis wealthy. People give to something they consider beneath them. "Stop wasting time, Emily. Why are you here?" She turned to me, adjusting her scarf, an anxious habit from childhood. "Mom and Dad are deteriorating. Mom's physical therapy isn't covered by their payment plan, and Dad needs emergency surgery for internal bleeding they initially missed. The hospital is threatening to suspend treatment unless they can provide proof of payment. They're talking about selling the house." I watched her knuckles whiten as she gripped her expensive purse tighter. Classic Emily. She was clearly bracing herself for something. "And that's my problem because—" I arched an eyebrow, deliberately mimicking her condescending tone from our younger years. "Because you can help them," she said, her immaculate exterior beginning to crack. "I know your company went public. I checked the stock prices. I did my research. You've got the cash." That made me chuckle, a sound perhaps rougher than I intended, echoing off my apartment walls. "Oh, you've been monitoring me. How intriguing. Did you do this much research before using my inheritance to pay for your wedding? Or before your own refusal to help them with all this? Where's your wealthy husband, Emily?" Emily's face flushed crimson, another vivid memory from my younger years. That flush always preceded her dramatic outbursts, which invariably ended with our parents comforting her. "That's different," she stammered, her composure continuing to crumble. "I have a new family now. I have obligations. Think of the stepchildren. James and I each have our own financial plans. I can't just throw money at a family situation, can I?" "Can't just what?" I interrupted, my voice sharp. "Can't you simply help your parents who have given you everything? Who paid for your wedding with my inheritance? Who prioritized you above all others? Who didn't attend my college graduation to help you move apartments? Those parents?" She waved her hand dismissively and said, "That's history. But," and I saw her take a step back, "this is right now. You're being selfish, and they need help." Her use of the word selfish was the last straw. A lifetime of repressed rage and bitterness abruptly solidified into a chilling, unambiguous goal. I walked silently to my home office, picked up my laptop and a few papers off my desk, then returned to the living room. "Emily, you want to talk about money? Let's talk." I rotated the screen of my portfolio dashboard in her direction. "Look at these figures. These are my stock options. I'll explain it to you in terms you can understand. This is worth more than your husband James will make in 3 years. That house you're so proud of? If I wanted to, I could pay cash for it tomorrow." As she stared at the numbers, her face turned white instead of crimson. But you're a tech worker," she stammered, for the first time I could recall. "You're just a programmer." Her voice was small. "Emily, I'm now a senior development director. While you and your wealthy husband were playing house, I was building something for myself. And unlike you, I did it without stepping on anyone else." I clicked firmly to shut down my laptop. I could assist Mom and Dad by covering their medical expenses without using any of my resources. However, I won't. "You're being cruel," she murmured, but I could see that she realized her younger sister had outsmarted her. "No. It is cruel to stand by and do nothing while your sister has been ignored her entire life. Cruel is stealing her inheritance. Cruel is only showing up at her door when you're in need." I walked to the door and pulled it open. "Are we finished?" "Here, don't come back." Clutching her expensive purse like a shield, she stood there. She made one final attempt to say, "You'll regret this," but her voice lacked its usual assurance. "When they lose everything..." "My only regret is that I didn't cut you all off sooner, Emily. Goodbye." I poured myself another glass of wine. After she left, a $200 bottle I had been saving for a special occasion, and this felt like one. And then I went out to my balcony. In front of me, the city lights were a tapestry of freedom and opportunity. I felt completely free for the first time in my life. No more living in Emily's shadow. No more feeling guilty. No more looking for approval. My phone was inundated with notifications the following morning. Apparently, Emily had spent the night calling every family member she could reach, telling them how I had changed, how prosperity had made me callous and uncaring, and how I was abandoning the family when they needed me most. Uncle Greg wrote me a very long email about karma and family responsibilities. In response, I shared a comprehensive folder with the family group chat. It included scanned copies of my inheritance documents, bank statements that revealed how my money was used for Emily's wedding, text messages from Emily stating that she would not assist with the medical bills despite her affluent lifestyle, and a breakdown of my current net worth that showed exactly how much I could contribute if I so desired. After that, the family conversation went completely silent. Our cousin Angela was the only one to reply. "Holy, you actually did it, didn't you? You really succeeded on your own." Over the next few days, I worked on my future plans. I accepted the promotion in another state, which came with a bigger stock option package and a substantial raise. I put my apartment up for sale. The real estate agent believes it will sell for much more than I'm asking for in this neighborhood. I've already started searching for real estate in my new city, perhaps a penthouse this time. Emily sent me one last text last night, which read, "Mom's crying every night because of you." I replied. She had years to cry about how she treated me and included a screenshot of my inheritance paperwork. Her tears are no longer effective. After that, I blocked her number and all my other family contacts. It felt like closing the last chapter of a book I should have finished years ago. You've been amazing throughout this journey, Reddit. Your encouragement made it clear to me that I wasn't alone in my feelings, and that it's okay to put yourself first when dealing with harmful family members. Your comments served as a constant reminder of my decision-making process whenever I had second thoughts. Recently, I received a message asking if achieving financial success was worth sacrificing my family. The truth is, though, I didn't lose any family. I broke free from people who never treated me like family in the first place. My achievement just gave me the courage to refuse their treatment. It didn't change who I am. I want to express my gratitude to everyone who shared similar stories, offered advice, or just validated how I felt when I most needed strength. You gave it to me. I will begin looking for a home in my new city next week. A new life, a new career, and a new home. For the first time, I'm looking forward to the future without being constrained by obligations to my family. A jerk to some, perhaps. However, I've come to the crucial realization that sometimes being labeled an a-hole by toxic individuals is a sign that you're finally advocating for yourself. Reddit, thank you. You helped me discover my value and my voice. Thank you for watching. If you haven't subscribed yet, please do so, and hit the notification bell to stay updated with more shocking real-life stories happening around you.